going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. This is the Mental Breakdown, and I'm your host, Joey Velez. Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a good start to the final day of the work week and they're ready for a nice, relaxing weekend. Today, I'm joined by a good friend, Dr. Kayla Shabre. So, her and I met back in the grad school days, and we really got a chance to connect during our first internship working with incarcerated youth in our area. So known her a long time. We've always kind of kept in contact with what each other's doing. So I'm glad to have her on the show. And she's going to bring a very unique perspective because one, she's a former NFL cheerleader and collegiate athlete. So she's going to be able to provide us some information on, what that experience was like and how mental skills played a role there. But then also what she's doing currently, so she is a psychologist that specializes in eating disorders and sports psychology. But then she's also a professional choreographer for a bunch of levels, a bunch of teams: NFL, NBA, college, high school dance teams. So we can get a little bit of information perspective on how mental skills training shows up, not just in her professional choreography life, because she is coaching athletes, but then also what she does in her clinical realm as well. So hope you enjoy, have a good time, and we'll talk soon. But on that, we'll don't forget to like, rate, share, review whenever you get a chance, and then hope you enjoy. What's up?
What's
There
up?
she is. What's going down? How are you?
Good. Just dancing, doing therapy.
Okay, that's a good combo.
Yeah, we love that.
Uh, yeah, it's been fun watching you on TikTok and Instagram because
Um,
it's a good balance,
yeah.
It's
It's
like,
fun.
hey, we're doing some real stuff with some eating disorders, and then boom, we're breaking it down on the dance floor.
I
Like, come
know.
on, I'm in.
I know.
Uh, I'm good, chilling. Just it's starting to get hot here in Texas. Don't love that.
Yeah.
You know, what's the weather like out there right now?
Yeah, I'd say sunny. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Normal California hot though.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
I was driving in a hailstorm yesterday for the first time ever. That was fun.
Oh no.
Look at me go. So where are you at right now? Is this your own office, like your own practice? Where are you at right now?
No. Are we going live right now, by the way?
Oh yeah, we're rolling.
Oh, we're rolling.
We're
Okay.
moving. We're moving.
Uh, So I have an office in my house, but then I
Nice.
also, because I see clients virtually, but I also have
Yeah.
like a space where that's part of my apartment complex where it's like an office space, and then right literally 10 steps away is the dance studio. So I just
Oh,
am able to go back and forth.
that's awesome. That's
Yes.
super convenient. Is it the same dance studio you've been at like this whole time, or is it different?
No, this studio is just like my house dance studio.
Oh,
So yeah, I can just like walk back and forth. It's convenient.
making moves. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Heck yeah. Well, appreciate you hopping on. Uh, appreciate you hopping on early on a Friday, fitting into my schedule. I know you're a busy lady, but I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and I think one of the things that excited me, and we talked about this the other day, but the variety of things we can talk about, right? So like your professional career in terms of like uh cheerleading, collegiate athlete, but then also professional career in terms of choreography, within like the sporting realm still technically, right?
Yeah.
And then professional as a psychologist. So I think there's a lot of fun things we get to talk about today. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
First things first. Uh, what is something you're grateful for?
That I'm grateful for.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for this new entrepreneurship era that I'm in. It's very,
yeah,
I just started in February, because I was just at like, a 9 to 5, a clinical director at different places. But I'm just so grateful that I get to do what I love every day. And it just kind of, the pace of my life has like slowed down. I feel like
mm,
I've been like grinding a lot. I mean, like being with you in grad school. And I
yeah.
feel like I'm actually able to just like enjoy the fruits of my labor, like.
Okay,
And so I'm able to like dance and do therapy and like have my own schedule that
yeah.
works, which is nice.
Take a couple hours off if I need to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like what's changed since making that shift, but I think you just said it. It sounds like life's slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say, because I've spent so many years like building up sassy hip hop, And there's a lot of times where I've been like, oh, I can't go to that gig because, I'm working or I don't want to, call off and do PTO. And so now it's just like free reins. Like I can just take all these opportunities and I can schedule them around clients. I like how I'm able to do therapy and then dance and kind of do the both. I think it's good to like move my body and just
Yeah.
work different in my mind. Yeah.
It sounds like it also probably breaks up your whatever your day to day is, right? You're
Yeah.
not just doing all of therapy, you're not just doing all of dance. So it's like even if one gets, I don't want to say tiring, but
Yeah.
it's good to have that switch back and forth.
Yeah, and I've always said like I can't see myself only doing dance or only doing therapy
Yeah,
because I think I would get a little burnt out. Um,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
I like it. It's like, yeah, let me see, let me ask my boss if I can take PTO. Yep, I
Yeah.
can take it. We're good. Well, good for you. I know that, yeah, because I remember, as you were going through clinicals and, working on being a director at some facilities, just grinded that typical daily schedule. And I could even with some of your posts, like when you decided to go the, entrepreneur route,
Yeah.
full entrepreneur route,
Yeah.
just like how much of a, like, I don't want to say like a weight off your shoulders, but it seemed very like freeing doing that.
Yeah.
Heck
Yeah. No,
yeah.
agree. Yeah, I definitely feel more free, more peaceful. I sleep better at night. I'm stressed. So it's been
Love that.
yeah.
Heck yeah. Yeah. Anything that can help the sleep will do it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's get into it. Okay. Because I think, when we first met back in grad school, we all talk about our sporting background and experience. I think obviously the first thing that came up with you was being a professional cheerleader. And you did that for 6 years, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
So how did you get into that? How did you get into cheerleading at the professional level?
Yeah, so I've always done cheer, basketball, and swim my whole life, which
Hmm.
is also why I got into the sports psych program, which we'll dive into later probably. I went to college and I decided to swim, and then I swam, and I just felt like I don't know, I almost like resented getting into the pool. Like it just wasn't fun for me anymore. I think working out and do just weights and swimming like 3, 4 times a day. I was just like, "Ah, this is not how I want to spend my
Yeah.
college
This
time.
ain't this ain't it.
Yeah, I want to be in a sorority. I want to do all these fun things. And so I just told my swim coach that, hey, I just feel like I'm meant to do something else. I don't know what that is. At the time, I only had a cheer background. And so I left his office. I remember crying and I'm going down like the halls of Cal State East Bay and I see this flyer for dance team auditions. And I was like, I think that's it. Like
Okay.
I've never like danced before. Dance is different. Dance is like kicks, turns, and
Yeah.
just pop. And so I decided to like give it a shot. And they picked 5 people, new members on the team that year. I was one of them. And so that's why I really learned just like dance and a little bit more technique. And so I was on the cheer and dance team in college. So I would
Mhm.
change uniforms a lot at halftime, which was fun. And then after 2 years of that, I was like, I don't know. I just feel like I should like try out to be an NFL leader. Like,
Why
you know,
not?
yeah, I just like in these points in my life, I've had these intuitive nudges and where I feel like the universe is like, you should do this. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I'm a Sagittarius, by the way. So I'm just like,
Okay.
give some
You
content.
gotta go do it, yeah.
So then I built a team. I remember I got a trainer who was in Berkeley. So I was going there twice a week. I lived in the East Bay at the time. I had like a nutritionist. And then I also found this coach who had like a semi-pro dance team at the time. He already had auditions and he already had a team. And I was like, hey, I know you already have your team, but can you just give me a shot? And I just need to train. I want to be an NFL cheerleader. And so I just walked into a practice, did a random audition, and he said, give me 6 months and you can make the 49ers cheer team. And so it literally the 6 month, a day of Gold Rush 49er cheerleader auditions was 6 months. And I
Oh
made it
wow.
my
Wow.
rookie year. So I just grinded for six,
Yeah.
and that's how I got into it.
Yeah, you saw this flyer, you trust your intuition, you're like, hey, let's go after it.
Yeah.
Was it a hard transition, like being primarily cheer to now going to more dance or because I know they're not the same, obviously, right?
Mm.
Was it a difficult challenge or transition going from one to the other?
I'd say, and I'd say this too, like in my pro dance career, like on Niners, I feel like because I didn't grow up in a studio, I didn't have a rigid mindset when it came to dance.
Hmm.
So I wasn't like so technically trained to where I almost came, just dancing. Like I didn't dance like super, stiff or anything like that. I was just very dance with a lot of passion. And so I was almost like a sponge. So I just soaked in everything that I liked. And then I got to kind of like formulate my own style. And I feel like the cheer was helpful for the sharp motions. And
Hmm.
then dance taught me how to have fluidity in between the sharp motions. So it was a
Interesting.
fusion.
Okay. Yeah, able to combine the two worlds.
Yeah.
I'm already noticing a theme about with you from what you're doing now to even with cheerleading and dance is like this theme of not being on the move, but like constant change, like having to switch up the daily monotony of things. And I gotta imagine being because East Bay is Division 2,
Yeah, I think so.
still collegiate athlete, like you have more of a regimented schedule,
Yeah.
right? Like weights is at this time, practice is at this time. Here's what we're doing. Off season, here's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Not much opportunity for fluidity or freedom.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did what did that do in terms of like your mentality, your mental? Like how did that impact you going through something like that day-to-day grind?
I call it my athlete mindset, and it's a blessing and a curse
Mm.
because I feel like, and it even applied to like my licensing exam, for example. I approached it like an athlete, like, oh, I'm about to like do this many practice tests, and this is it, and like this is how I get to the finish line and succeed and win. And like that didn't work, right? Because I
Mm.
needed rest. I needed like to incorporate all these things. And so I feel like it's helpful for me to like become accomplished in a lot of areas in my life, but it's also led me to like a lot of mental distress or just holding on too tightly and not having fluidity with my mind and just like learning to let go sometimes and just trust myself.
Yeah, and I think you've probably seen it too. Like sometimes we get so engulfed in what we're doing, because we feel like that's what we kind of have to do, but we don't allow ourselves the time to like disconnect, which is kind of pretty important, you
Yeah.
know? I think I talked about a lot of my last job, but in terms of high level performance, if you have to sacrifice something, what a lot of people tend to sacrifice is like sleep or recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, this person's getting up at 4 a.m. Well, then I must have to get up at 3, which sure I think can be beneficial, right? Because like you're putting in the extra work, but if you're sacrificing your ability to recover or self care for that, then in the long run, how much good is it actually doing?
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that sacrifice part. And I feel like I just go back to my licensing exam because I learned so much with that. Like I
Yeah.
was studying on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, because to me, it was like that athlete mindset, like, oh, if I'm sacrificing this, then when I pass, it's gonna be so worth it in the end.
Was it worth it though for you in the end?
At the end of the journey, like it was because I learned how to just be gentle with myself and that I don't need to be
Yeah.
going super hard like that. I think that when I was, studying on holidays and things like that, I didn't end up passing. And when I stopped doing that, it's when I did pass.
It's so funny because where I work at now with a bunch of pilots, and after their day, they'll go home and like they feel like they have to go home and study for 5 hours after putting in a 12-hour day. Which again I think makes sense because you want to learn the knowledge, but what's stopping you from just like taking an hour break when you go home?
Yeah.
Like the value of just being able to disconnect
Yeah.
from your environment or doing something you enjoy just for a little bit, what that can actually do, you know? Is that something you do? Like, are you more mindful of that now in your current practice?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel like yeah, now I wake up every day and I just ask myself, like, what do I need? What's gonna make me feel the most fulfilled and happy today?
Mhm.
And obviously, sometimes we have like tasks to do and stuff, but it's like
Yeah.
build in fun around that, like tomorrow I have to do a couple hours of private, I have to choreograph, and so boom, I schedule girls' night dinner after.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, it's like what do I have to do? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Like let's how do we kind of fit that in there?
Yes.
Uh it's I do because I do that with like meal prep. Like the first thing I put in my app is like a Reese's peanut butter cup and then build in after that. Because like at least at the end of the day I get some chocolate, like
Yeah, exactly.
makes it feel less stressful.
Yeah.
Uh okay, so you grind for 6 months, learning dance, getting all caught up on that, and then you make the team. Uh that moment sounded like it was very fulfilling for you.
Mhm.
But then what was that next 6 years like, now being a part of that in like the professional ranks?
Yeah, so I'd say, like I said, I loved how I was just a sponge. So I was able to take in different things, like especially people that I viewed as a leader on the team. Like I feel like I really grew into like a leadership, just like what I viewed a leader should be like, dancing, all the things. I do think that, I struggle with body image a lot. I think that's where my eating disorder really developed. And I didn't realize it until I was, retired and off of the team, which is a whole nother chapter. But yeah, I felt like because fans are always just looking at you. And so to me, every game day, it's like, oh, how many people are here? To whatever X hundred thousands.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a hundred thousands of opinions about my body and me. And so it just felt like eyes were on me. But yeah, I also just I feel like I got on the team when I was really young. I was like
yeah,
18, 19. So
oh
I
yeah.
really grew up to just be like this woman, like poise and class and like all these things, learning how to public speak and all the wonderful things that, yeah, come with pro cheer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like what did you learn from that experience? It sounds like you just said a couple things, but
Yeah.
how did that help shape you? Because gotta imagine going through that's kind of tough, you know?
Yeah.
Um, eyes are always on you, whether it's on the TV or the 20,000, however many people are there, you know, constantly having to perform in front of people, so yeah, what did
Yeah.
you learn about yourself in those 6 years?
I learned that I almost like developed this like persona or like mask where I was just always on and I never really like took it off.
Mm. Yeah,
And so when I retired, I learned that like, hey, like we can take it off. Like there'd be times where I wouldn't be cheering and I'd be out at dinner with my family. My grandma would say, like, Kayla, why aren't you wearing your red lipstick? It's like, oh, well, like, I don't want to wear red lipstick.
yeah,
But it's just like my family also kind of participated in this, like you're always on, you're a representation of the organization. So I feel like that was tough. And I feel like that athlete mindset was helpful during those 6 years because I am juggling like practice, like working out, like, all these things. And then I, especially when I was a captain, it's like I have to pay attention to my line, the fans, the game, what routines I'm gonna call. So again, the athlete mindset was helpful. But then I feel like, yeah, once I was retired, I had to like undo a lot of
yeah,
things.
yeah. Because I think if you're always having to put up that image, like even when you're not at work, right? Like it's tough to kind of dissociate from that. And I think it sounds like even being like in the professional ranks, like even when you're not at your work is the stadium, technically, right? But
Yeah.
like even when you're not there, like people know who you are. So you're still kind of like at work even when you're just in
Yeah.
public.
Yeah, just always have to be a good representation. So then I felt like sometimes my mind would go on overdrive and I'd be like, oh, like would my coach approve of this? Like, is this a good representation of the Niners? So just like, yeah, it's nice to like not be in that space anymore.
Yeah. Is that kind of what led you to retire? Like you kind of saw that, or is the 6 years like just a typical like lifespan of someone in that field?
I say 6 years is a long time, but I went
Yeah.
to audition for my seventh year and I got cut the very, very first round. So I
Hmm.
didn't even get to, you know, give it a shot and go to finals. But, I think I was devastated. I think because I was just on this like record player, just like, just doing every year, I was in this routine, which again, athlete mindset, just in this routine.
Yeah.
And so it just like it disrupted all of that. And I just remember that was like the first time I experienced like numbness. You know, like a lot of clients will say they feel that. And I just remember just asking myself, like, where am I gonna go from here? That was also the day I got cut, that next day I had to collect my data for my dissertation, which was how do retired cheerleaders adjust to retirement. So I'm like, oh my God, now I'm a part of my population. They always say, like in grad school, don't pick something close to home. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like,
Yeah,
all
that'll be okay. Oh no.
but working
So
out.
you had that already kind of you were already working on that dissertation while you were cheering, correct?
Yeah, and like every audition, like everybody has to re-audition. I never thought I once had it in the bag or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I was just so shocked. But honestly, it was one of the best things that happened to me, and I think it was good to be a part of
Yeah.
my population, and yeah, it pushed me into my professional choreography career.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, how did you get through that moment? Was it starting your career in choreography, or was it something else that kind of helped you deal with that not passing that last or that seventh year?
Yeah, I think a lot of things were helpful. I call that whole era of my life like a homecoming back to myself. I remember when I had my very first Saturday off, because
Mm.
for minors we would practice for like 7 hours every Saturday, 6 years. And before that, remember I was doing sports my whole life. So really, I realized I had not had a Saturday off since I was probably, I don't know, in preschool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Preschool weekends hit different, like dang, that's crazy. Yeah.
So I just started doing things on a Saturday. That was the very first thing I started. Okay, on a Saturday, what do I like to do? How am I going to make the most out of this Saturday? And then I started just hanging out with friends and family more for support. In the doctorate program, they require that all students see a therapist for 50 hours. And
Okay.
I had been like pushing that off because I was so busy with Niners.
Yeah.
So it came a time like, okay. So I did it twice a week and that was helpful. And I got to just unpack a lot of the like hurt that I felt from that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, and I think even just that right there is probably the part of the downside of like the athlete mindset is like you don't you're not able to uncover that or talk about that in that moment
Yeah.
because I have to grind, I have to get all this done, I have to be this
Yeah.
sort of person, I have to perform a certain way. It all makes sense, right? But like you said, when that part of your life stops, all that stuff is still there. Right? So it's like I need
Yeah.
that avenue. Um, well, that's good because it's like it's. I think it's also funny too. It's just amazing, like what you miss out on when you're in that kind of mindset. Like you said, like, oh, I have a Saturday off. What do
Yeah.
I do? This. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then so then how did that now lead into the next phase of your journey, which is choreography? Obviously, like that's something you did for 6 months, then you got to cheering for the Niners, so 6 years of that. But then what made you kind of get into like that part of your life and doing your own choreography?
Yeah, so I started sassy hip hop when I was like, this was about my second year on Niners.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing sassy and school at the same time. And so I always had sassy, thankfully. If I didn't, I think it would be different for me with
Mm.
that experience. And so for me, I remember making a conscious choice. I said, okay, you know what? I can either take this path where I'm, super sad and depressed, which is fine to feel, but I feel like I could have been more long term with that.
Yep.
So like, you know what? I'm just gonna channel everything into sassy hip hop, use it as my outlet, wrap up school. So yeah, that's just exactly what I did. And my choreography got to change too, which was really cool. I know I seen it. Like if you go back and scroll videos, you'll see that I had a very pro dance style because I was like safe and that's
Yeah.
just I knew. And
Yeah.
so when I wasn't on Niners anymore, I started exploring just like hip hop and just like
Yeah.
things of like hip hop. And so I felt like my personality got to shine a lot more. And I also took elements, I really reflected and asked myself, what do I miss about the Niners? And how can I recreate that in Sassy?
Yeah.
So, like, okay, if I miss performing at game day, because I believe everything is energy. So, what do I miss? How did I feel on game day? and then I try to recreate that feeling. So, yeah, I just started choreographing, expanding my style, and then a professional choreographer reached out to me to be their assistant for different pro dance teams. It was Raiders, Niners, and Warriors at the time. And so I got to be his assistant and also collab on choreography. And from there, I started posting more on Instagram. So at that time, I used Instagram as like my portfolio, and I still view
Mhm.
it that way. Like
Yeah.
if somebody were to come across my Instagram, what could they see about myself? And so yeah, I just started posting on Instagram and then just more teams just started hitting me up and the rest was history.
It's amazing what social media has done. Social media gets a lot of hate, and there's a lot of bad stuff on there for sure. But I think that's your new resume. That's your new LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like it can do a lot for a lot of people. Which, hey, man, if that's going to help build your business, by all means, get after it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're trying to like expand your choreography, are you looking at different dancers? Are you reaching out to people? Like, how does someone go about expanding that sort of knowledge?
Yeah, to like expand their choreography business, you're saying?
No, just how you said like your choreography started to shift.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like because that there's that mask, right? Like
yeah,
when pro cheer where it's like, oh, I don't want to dance to this song because that's a little risky, It was just like all bets are off. Like I can like, like okay, what songs do I like? I
yeah,
Will John Get Low. I like Too Short. I like all these things. So I just started like having fun. And I remember I started creating sassy previews at the time where I would show little clips of the choreography for class
yeah.
week. So I think I view the previews as like a preview into a movie, right? Like that's how we
Oh
know
yeah.
we go to the movies. We
Reel them
see.
in. Like, oh, that looks fun. I want to go do that.
So I just start, and even till to this day, like I just have fun with my content, and just every post is like a lottery ticket. You never know what's gonna hit or go. So I just post whatever feels good. Sometimes I'll have a friend come over, hey, I want to like set this routine on you. Let's just have fun. Let's post it or not. And
Yeah,
just really free flowing.
yeah, yeah. It seems like you're having a lot of fun. There
Mhm.
were there were definitely times when I was back home and I was like, do I go to a sassy class? Like, I was kind of it's kind of fun. And I think you said something very interesting that I caught because it's like when you were with the Niners, right? Like, and you're out there, when you said a lot of thoughts you were having was like, what are these people? That's 100,000 opinions on me. What are they saying? What are they thinking? What are they doing? But then now when it's like, oh, I'm gonna go play, I want to dance to Get Low by Lil Jon. What are people gonna think? I don't care. Like, what do I think? You
Ex-
know? And I think that just shows how like that just shows like the shift in mindset, right? Like, and also that we're not gonna stop that first conscious thought from coming in, right? But like we control what we do with it, And I gotta imagine that's a nice feeling to have for sure.
Yeah. And I still like think about that in choreography. Like if I'm getting too frazzled, I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. To me, that tells me that I'm leaning too much into like what would other people want, like expect, or at the end of the day, it's like I just need to have fun and be myself, and that's always going to be great.
Yeah, and I think that's good. That's good self-awareness for a lot of people to understand, right? It's like
Mhm.
what are those indicators that are telling me that probably
Yeah.
not doing what I want to be doing or not thinking what I want to be thinking, but then grounding yourself is like, hey, this is supposed to be fun. Let's have fun. Let's get
Yeah,
after it.
that's my sign to walk out of the studio. Like whenever I choreograph, and if I feel like I'm not having fun, I'll just say, "Oh, let's pick it back up tomorrow." It's
Today just ain't it, and that's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll do it another time, and that's all right. You know?
exactly.
Uh, not my day. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, kids. Um, so obviously, like this is also you as a choreographer, like you're also whether it's sassy or with pro teams, like you're still also in that leadership role, right? Like you're teaching people how to do things. Um, and I think there is also a very much a part of it. It's a performance, right? So there's obviously a big part that's mental performance related. So how do you bring that aspect and teach that to the people that you are instructing, whether it's like I said, pro teams or whether it's just doing sassy stuff.
Yeah, so I realize that the person I am for like as a psychologist, and sassy is very similar. Like the pillars and the foundation is very similar in the sense that I really focus on empowering people and building their confidence in a very like free flowing space, which is what I learned, right, post Niners career to be like
Yeah.
that. But like for my sassy class, if you go to a sassy class, I always say like, hey, feel free to modify the choreography. Like you'll never see me pull select groups and pull people out. I don't do favorites, don't do any competitive environment.
Hey,
Uh,
let's watch these three because they're crushing it.
yeah, like
Because
that's
unspoken message, if I'm not a part of that three, well, I must be
yeah,
bad.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, very free flowing. I'll teach in a way where all levels feel like welcomed and accepted. And yeah, I think just it's like a dance therapy model. Like I just want people to leave feeling good and feeling inspired. Yeah, about themselves.
Yeah, and, from seeing some of the clips, like you can clearly see that there's different skill sets in there.
Yeah.
You can tell who are the ones that like dance professionally, and then who are people who are just there because like they just want a chance to let loose. You know,
Hmm.
um, how do you? I don't want to say how do you like approach the people who are like clearly newer, but obviously you can sense something when they come in where it's like, because I gotta imagine if I'm new in that environment, I'm gonna have some sort of barrier up. Is there
Hmm.
something you do to notice that? Like, do you talk to them? How do you help them break that down?
Yeah, I think I'll notice it. I'll first maybe take the approach of like clarifying a move, but it's my tone and the way I teach. I make it like, oh, this is the move, but like, yeah, it's all good. Like if you want to do this, or I do like variations, just to create like it's okay and really try and break that down. I'll also move positions in the room. So if I notice like a side's kind of struggling a little bit more, I'll kind of go over there. Or I just encourage people to ask questions. I may go up to them, ask if they have questions. And I'll also, like in my class, I'll say, all right, let's clap for everybody. Like, wow, so great. This is a really hard dance. Or,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like,
No, I can see the energy. Like, there's so many. There was one. I can't remember if it was a high school team or a college team, but whoever it was, just the way you were talking. Like, I was smiling just watching it. Like, you were singling out this one girl who was doing something. You're just like, "Well, period, girl." And I'm like, dude, I would be so jacked up if I was there, And I
yeah,
think that just shows like energy's contagious. Like
yeah,
tone's a big thing. I don't know what I
yeah,
just saw, but it was like I can't remember the numbers, but it broke down three numbers and it was about communication, right? Like 55% of it's your body language, like 40% of it is your tones, 5% of it's what you actually say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like even how you can changing your tone can make it a more comforting environment.
Yeah, like I'll be rooting these girls on or boys, whoever in class. Like I'm at a football game screaming. Like,
And I think that's what I like. Yeah, no matter who it is, right? Like you're keeping that same consistent energy from everybody, and
yeah,
people notice that. Like
yeah,
people notice that stuff. They notice like who's talking to who, or how,
yeah.
how you're talking to each person, right? Uh, is that what you enjoy most about being a leader? Because I could tell being a leader is something you thoroughly enjoy.
I definitely love that. And I feel like, see, and that's like the piece I took from Gold Rush was like, oh, I'm gonna miss being a leader. But then I'm seeing how like, oh, I could still be a leader in Sassy, right? Like when I'm teaching, especially different teams.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like being a leader because it also helps push me to speak up and step into my full potential as well. Like especially when I was a clinical director, it's
yeah.
like when things would go down, people would like all look at me and it's like, oh, I gotta speak up.
Got to act. I don't know. It's like, well,
Yeah, like there's no time.
now we're all in trouble.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and I
definitely.
think that that's even something like that, when you think about like the good coaches in any sort of sport, like when the moments get stressed out, like the teams that do well are the ones where the coach still is talking the same as they've been the whole game, versus the one who's like all frantic and screaming.
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna look to you. If I'm frantic and screaming, what are they supposed to do? Probably we're screwed. We're in trouble. Like we should probably freak out as well. You
Mhm.
know? Um, was that like you and this idea of being a leader, and you like how you like being a leader, was that a thing before Gold Rush? Or did that
Oh,
develop at Gold Rush?
I think I've always liked being a leader. I've been like captain, in high school,
Okay,
sporting
yeah.
and in college. So, but it's something that I grew into and learned more and more. I'm still learning things about myself and like how to be a leader and different things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, lifelong learning, right? Like we're never always going to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
I do like how your like the characteristics are staying the same. It's just you're now almost like modifying it to your environment, right? Like leadership from Gold Rush to Sassy. How you function as a psychologist, in the clinical setting versus how
Mhm.
you function like that in the dance setting.
Yeah.
Like so the pillars are still there, just like modulating to the environment, but like you're not changing the
Yeah.
background of it.
And I feel like that's what helps me like move and flow with change is because for me, again, it's like energy. Even like when I left my clinical director job to go into private practice, I was like, I'm gonna miss being a clinical director. But now I'm like, well, technically I am a clinical director still for
Yeah,
practice, like, and eventually I want to hire more people on. That's the goal. Like,
yeah.
it's still there.
Yeah, still there, just a different. It just looks a little different. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right on. When did you know you wanted to go to the clinical route? Was that like in that must have been early on.
Early, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was high school. I was a peer advocate where
Okay.
it would like pull kids out of class, like wanted to chat, and I learned clinical skills with being a peer advocate.
Okay.
A lot of things I learned in college, and so from there, I was like, you know what, I want to be a psychologist, and so that's why I went to Cal State East Bay. I already knew I wanted to go there, and then I found out like, oh, to be a psychologist, girl, you got to like keep it going. You got to go to grad school.
Yeah.
So. And then, yeah, the rest was history.
Yeah. That moment when I graduated, I got my undergrad in psychology, and I had a professor go, "So where are you going to grad school?" I was like, "What?" I
Right.
didn't know I had to.
You're right.
Probably would have chosen a different career, but here we are.
Here we are.
And when did you decide that you wanted your dissertation to be on uh, uh, professional cheerleaders in retirement? Like, was that how
I
did that
think
come about?
Well, like over the years, as I was sharing, I was just noticing just different patterns, body image. Just I was just kind of observing how people were showing up. Because especially because I was a leader on the team and I was captain, I would like just pay attention, like, oh, how's my teammate showing up today? Do they need like someone to talk to? And
Yeah,
so I just started observing different things. And every year it's like girls retire, new people come in. And so I was just seeing even the people who retired how they were and if they were drastically different than how they were on the team. And so then yeah, I was like, you know what? I want to do something with professional cheerleaders. There's no research at all
oh, yeah,
on the population. And so I was like, I just want to be the first to just bring awareness to this population.
yeah. What'd you find with your research? What'd you notice?
I think the biggest thing is that a lot of retired cheerleaders struggle with identity and just feeling like they don't really know who they are without pro cheer. And I think because like when you're in pro cheer, it's just like you're in this bubble. It's almost like this magical world. And then when you get plugged out of that, you're in,
Yeah,
a different world. And it's just like, oh, a lot of people don't dance anymore. So look at that, we're back.
we're back. We're back in action. Uh, yeah, quick technical difficulty, but here we are. Um, so we're talking about what you noticed and what you saw with your research.
Oh yeah, I think I was saying that also girls were struggling a lot with body image
Yeah,
and motivation to work
yeah,
out. And I resonated so much with people with this in terms of like when you're an athlete, especially at that level, it's just workouts are like, I need to look good, on game day.
yeah,
And it's like when you don't have that motivation to work out, it's almost like you feel burnt out to work out. You're like, why am I
yeah,
working out? And so
yeah. Yeah, and I gotta imagine that's a thing just for professional. Well, you hear it in college too, just like transitioning from sport to just everyday life.
yeah.
This is something I was so used to. Like this was my schedule for 10, 15, 20 years. Now it's like, well, now what do I do? I think even Kobe, like when he retired, he said he gained like 30 pounds right away because he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, how do I get back into that I don't want to say normalcy, but like new life, but how do I still apply what I've been doing and not like drive myself crazy?
Mhm.
Uh, is there is there specific things like that you would that you would teach people who would help make that transition easier, uh, going from cheerleading to just everyday life, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I didn't get to like work with them clinically per se.
Yeah,
If I were to,
yeah. What would you do?
I would, I would. Because honestly, I feel like what I did is what I would teach people to do, just like viewing life like a little bit differently. Like, oh, I have a Saturday off, or like I get to travel, so go travel. Just go do it and like sitting with yourself, asking yourself what you like to do. And for me, it was really hard to ask myself, what did I like to do before Niners? I just did not. I
Yeah,
couldn't remember.
yeah,
That's far I felt, from that version of myself. But yeah, just encouraging people to be self-reflective as well and really looking into their day-to-day life. And that's how I was discovered I had an eating disorder. I was like, oh, why am I still restrict eating? Like,
yeah.
oh, was I doing that for a while? So just having people be curious and just to go for things.
Yeah, I think using that time to, because I think it's easy to fall in that trap of I don't know what to do because my whole life was kind of structured for me.
Yeah,
Like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, it's like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what
exactly.
do you like to do? It might be hard to think about, but it's like it is changing the narrative. It's like I have nothing to do because my career is now gone. Well, now there's just time for you to do whatever the hell you want to do.
Exactly.
But I gotta imagine that's still not an easy to say, right? But like not an easy process to go through.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a lot of like, yeah, patience and also leaning on your support system too. And I think being very honest with yourself, like if you are struggling, like call up a friend, let them know, cry it
Yeah,
out. you know?
yeah. Not to compare, but I just got done watching the movie Thunderbolts the other day, the new Marvel movie,
Okay, yeah.
and that's kind of like the theme of it.
Oh,
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But like it's about, if you are alone or feeling depressed, like you don't have to go through that by yourself, right?
right.
Like you just have to
Yeah.
find somebody, go to the people who are in your corner,
Yes.
um, because it's not that it's going to make you cheer it, right? But like it is nice to go through that if you know someone's got your back.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think looking for that support system. Yeah, so I'm hearing support system, reflection, a change in perspective,
Yeah.
uh, would be a helpful way to kind of transition out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think because of your experience, right? Like you talk about eating disorder, I'm assuming that's kind of what led you to the your specialization in now as a psychologist. Do you see like similar themes that you experienced? Do you see like is there something new that has popped up within that field that you since you're now working more with that population? What's that experience like?
Yeah, I feel like I'm able to relate to the clients, which just helps with like the client buy-in and the therapeutic relationship. It's like, hey, I get it. And like kind of like I'll share like different techniques or shift in perspective that, maybe was helpful for me. That's maybe less textbooky.
Yeah.
And so I think that's super helpful. And yeah, something that I'm seeing a shift in is with Ozempic being on the market.
Okay.
Um, like a lot of my clients who are severely restricting and underweight will say, like, I want to go to the doctors and ask if I can get Ozempic. Like, kind of viewing Ozempic as this like magic thing that can
Yeah.
get them the body that they want. So I think that's given a lot of like pushback in therapy, like really trying to help people work through that.
Yeah. Because I think even with something like that, you still have to make fundamental changes in your daily habits, right? Yeah, because I think like that's the argument in the professional ranks, like that's the argument like why you shouldn't do steroids, or even like I'm just gonna do steroids and I'll be fine. No, like on steroids you still have to work out, you still have to eat like a specific way. Like just because you take a pill doesn't mean like you're all good now. Like there are still changes you have to make. um how does so I guess how does like the mental skills training aspect show up in your work? Like what sort of skills are you providing them, to kind of help them overcome these challenges? You said there's book stuff, and then there's kind of like you said, not off the wall, but like. You know, my own little touch. You know, yeah. So, what sort of skills are you giving them to kind of help get through those challenges?
Specifically for eating disorder clients.
Yeah.
I say a lot of like cognitive restructuring. So it's kind of creating this space where it's like, okay, let's put your thoughts on the board. On literally, sometimes I'll literally write it out. I have a little virtual whiteboard. Let's
Nice.
talk about it. Okay, why do we think this? And it's almost like approaching it with like curiosity and like also a little bit of humor too. Like, okay, we want Ozempic. Why?
Yeah.
It's like we kind of just collaboratively like dismantle the thought and come up with a different thought at the end of something that clients can share, say to themselves next
Okay.
time. Because the thing is that that thought will come again. I
Yeah.
don't want to be on as a big, or I'm going to restrict today, but it's about having the tools and thinking about that thought process we just went through in therapy and then arriving at a different conclusion at the end.
Yeah, and I think that's a conversation that still, it's I don't want to say one of the biggest barriers, but it's informing people like, hey, like these thoughts aren't going to stop.
Correct. Yeah.
Like my job isn't to eliminate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
My job is to help you. Hey, when they happen, I now have a new habit pattern of how to think
Yeah.
versus going down the rabbit hole. And now I don't say feeling depressed, but I'm experiencing a lot more stress and anxiety than I want to in this moment.
Yes. Yes.
You know, we had a pilot come in the other day, and he was like, "I can't wait to. We did this. You guys helped me so much with this, and I can't wait to just eliminate the muscle tension I get." And I was like, "Well, we ain't gonna help you do that, buddy." And he just like looked at me all weird. I'm like, "I'll help you deal with it, though."
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. Yeah, it's. I think with your background, just like as a as a cheerleader growing up, like all these sort of things, it seems like all your worlds are kind of like interconnected,
Yeah.
right? And I think whether it's with the choreography, whether it's with you as a clinician, the fact that you've experienced those things, I can only imagine adds to the comfort level of everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an important piece is having that strong sense of connection with somebody because like what they're going through, so it's not going to be like, oh, this is weird. Like, what do we talk about now? It's like, no, I know how this person's going through. Like, let's
Yeah.
kind of maneuver this. And I gotta imagine your clients, your patients feel the same kind of way.
Oh, yeah.
Look at you. Look at you doing the good work out there. And you got the coat on. Look at you, man. Who are
Yeah.
you?
We got the sew and flow coat. Yes.
Heck yeah. What are there any like mental skills that like you use more than others like for yourself like
Mhm.
today?
Yeah, yeah, for myself, I still use like cue words.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite. I love teaching that to the younger generation too. Like when I see a lot of people not getting choreography, for example, I'll say like, okay, well, tell me what you're thinking about. Are you thinking of counts? Because counts just a number, you know.
Yep.
Like, could we maybe make the counts a little more fun, assign some sound effects or like reminding yourself to kick? And so I still use those techniques for myself because then it helps me teach that way too. Because I want
Okay.
them to like register in their brain. It's more than a count.
Yeah, not to sound incompetent, but I gotta imagine like if like me saying like 1, 2, 3, 4 can get boring, but if I say like kick, snap, like maybe
Yeah.
it brings a little bit more energy to it,
But yeah.
easier to remember.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, gosh, there was something related to that went in my head and then immediately came out. But I do that when I go golf now. It's like it's a lot more cue based, right? Like what do I want to feel as opposed to like a timing or anything like that. And I think it does make it a lot more helpful as if I'm giving something that's like guiding my attention to something because yeah, you said if I'm just counting, it's just a number. It's not really telling me anything.
And that's like what, like when I judge auditions, like that's what sets people apart from making a team versus like they almost making it is like,
Mm,
like judges really talk like, hey, I could tell she's just counting in her head because then it
yeah.
shows on the face too. It's just kind of like this plastered smile, whereas you can tell someone's like feeling it. They're doing facials, they're doing all
Boom, boom, boom.
how.
Yeah. I would get into it. Like if I'm just saying like words or sounds like that to myself as opposed to just saying a number, you know?
Yeah, makes it lit.
Heck yeah. I see now that you made word sounds, the thought popped back into my head. That was something I was reading in terms of like it was related to confidence. And I think this kind of goes on with what we're talking about, but like when you have some of those counterproductive thoughts that aren't helpful, those irrational beliefs, like one of the strategies it said was to say it in a funny voice.
Oh, yeah. I love
And
that.
just because I think what that does, it changes the tune of it, right? But then it also can show you like how silly it sounds.
Yeah.
And that might be enough to kind of, again, not eliminate it, but now dissociate, move towards, okay, well, what do I want to be thinking right now?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think hearing you talk about, like, instead of saying one, two, three, four, it's like, how do we change it to make it more exciting or to make it more different? You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
I like that. Uh, Everything just meshes,
Yeah,
it
for
all
sure.
connects.
Yeah.
Well, like I appreciate you hopping on. Yeah, I know we shoot text back and forth, throughout the year. We've been trying to do this for a while, and I'm glad we got a chance to do it.
Yeah.
Good chance to connect and see where you are now, and glad everything's going well. And you're recently married, kind of. So like that's also a plus. Good for you.
Hmm.
Enjoyed interviewing him, so I knew I had to get you on too because I
Yeah.
was going to enjoy that well. So hell yeah. Yeah, I talked about a lot, like just how mental skills is so applicable to everything we do, right? Whatever your environment is. But I think one key takeaway I'm hearing from is like, well, two, like one, how do you transition from something you've been doing all your life? It's going to be challenging, but there are ways to kind of help smooth that transition. But also like the importance of mixing up your day, right?
Hmm.
Like not just doing one thing every single day, rest of your life, like sprinkling something you enjoy to do, like a girl's night,
Yeah.
just to kind of help that mentality, help you kind of move forward to whatever the next thing is, and even maximize what you're currently doing. So heck yeah. Um, Before you go, is there like what is a word of advice you have for the listeners if in terms of like how to enhance their mental performance, their mentality, their approach, their perspective, things like that? What's a word of advice you have for the people?
Yeah, I think going back to what I mentioned earlier of like approaching each day with like, yeah, fresh new day and excitement and asking yourself, what do I need? What do I have to do? And how can I integrate some self-care? I think would be really good. Just, yeah, doing what you feel like is going to make you happy and pouring into you every day. Whether that sometimes for me, that's working out. Sometimes that's not working out. Sometimes it's watching a movie on the
Yeah.
couch, and that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the same thing every time. But yeah, I like that. I think a good way to start every day is like, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
How do I invest in myself today, and then fill everything else in
Yes.
and around that.
Hmm.
Hell yeah, Kayla, Dr. Shabre, I appreciate you. Where can the people find you if they want to know more about you and Sassy? Who knows? Maybe I have some people out
Yeah.
in California that want to go take Sassy.
Yeah. For Sassy, you can find me on Instagram, Sassy Hip Hop with Shabre, and Shabre is spelled Shabre on the screen right here. And
Heck
then
yeah,
therapy page will be linked in that bio, Dr. Shabre.
cool. Heck yeah, heck yeah. It's a good watch. People will put a smile on your face every day. I guarantee it. Hell yeah! So thank you for hopping on. We'll keep in touch for sure. Those are for you. Those of you who are listening, don't forget today's a great day to make an impact on someone's life. Siri's talking to me for some reason. That was weird. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. We'll talk soon.